Just want to understand, based on the reports that are available through most of these consulting firms, is the automation impact more or less real? Like, are companies actually able to either reduce their existing cost, or is it more from the perspective of not having to add incremental finance costs as the companies scale in their 1 to 10 or 10 to 100 journeys?
I think it's an excellent question. I think it's a bit of both, actually. In Code's case, it clearly, we got benefits and savings from reduced DSO, bad debt recoveries. So our bad debts went from 5.7% to now 0.15%. So you can see that has a huge impact on cost. In addition to that, we were able to support the growth of the business. As I've mentioned, we've already had 100% growth in the last 18 months. Staff in the accounts receivable team increased by about one. Previously, when we first started the project, the finance team represented 15% of the total manpower. Now it represents 9%. And the most important thing is that we'll be able to support the future growth of the business without layering in a lot of additional resources, particularly around AR. There are other processes where we are still labour intensive, and we can touch on those later when we talk about the future of automation. But yeah, it's a bit of both.
What about for a hyperscaling company like Carousel Group? Has the impact of automation been on the setup of the current finance structure, or has it essentially helped your company in terms of, let's say, how the team is thinking about future finance team expansion as your sales scale in the future?
Right, I would say it's a bit of both, definitely, because prior to this implementation of automation, honestly, like in Carousel, we never had a centralized function. It's just very difficult for us to scale. So Carousel, we expand through a lot of acquisition, and for us, it's very much like Lego. We actually acquire a company, we stack them together. It's difficult for us to actually centralize the process. We were having difficulty to scale, to grow this. And with that, with this implementation automation, this really helps us a lot in terms of course, cost of implementation. That really helps us a lot. And on top of that, it actually helps us with process, compliance, reduction of headcount, ability to centralize them. And cost is one side. I mean, I was just looking at this and I was just thinking about T&E. One thing that I would also want to share is prior to this implementation of automation, because our payment process or reimburse process to the employee are so manual, we have to go to bank portal, key in get bank information, and to make it really simple, we still have to do VLOOKUP, find our employee bank account, and do upload for PayNow for Singapore payment. And in order to reduce this manpower time cost, we actually limit the reimbursement to twice a month. So thinking about the time flow, by the time you submit, you get approval, and by the time you get your money, fastest 16 days. But with this Payflow implementation, I would say the fastest I've seen 2 days. 2 days is how fast it is in terms of helping us reimburse our employee, increase the trust of our employee to the organization, knowing that we are actually looking at their expenses, we are actually reimbursing them on time.